Hello everybody and welcome to Wesley's Plant World with me, Wesley Peterson. And today I'm out in the area of my garden called the Botanical Garden because I have some work to do on my beautiful rhododendron plants that I have next to me here. Now all of these plants, they flushed out with beautiful flowers on them for me during the late part of May and the early part of June. And now they've finished flowering out here. So they have grown out a lot more and they flushed out their new growth for this season, and on most of the stems they've grown out between 10 and 30 centimeters long in just this one season. And now because of that, they've actually encroached on my pathway that I have going around the back of my botanical garden here. So I need to prune some of these plants back because otherwise they will extend and extend more and more forward and take over. So what I'm going to do is get my gloves on and get my secateurs, and I'm just going to go in and prune them back. Now the way you prune back rhododendrons is you take them as far back as the new growth goes to where you see auxiliary buds growing out on a stem, because if you do that, you will encourage that side shoot, as it were, to grow out new branches. So if I try and take an example here, because this one is growing out quite a lot, I have a branch that is growing right out here, and well, actually it's an end that's grown out 3 long buds around a centerpiece that have grown out, and I want to keep one of them. The one that's growing straight up, I'll let that one carry on. Now another thing about pruning back rhododendrons is they get their bud for next year on this year's new growth. So as soon as you prune those back, you're going to lose a flower on each end. But if you have, for example, as I said on this piece, 3 branches coming out of the end of one, then you can leave the one that's growing in the direction you want it to grow for now, and then you know you're going to get a flower from that branch. So I will take off 2 here, the ones that are sticking right out towards the pathway, one there, and the next one here. So I can show you these 2. You can actually see that the growth was very long on this one, a good 25-30 centimeters, and then the leaves, and this one as well, a good 10-15 centimeters long. So it's grown out a lot this season, and on the very top you can see the new bud for the flower for next year, and all around it the new leaves. This new part of the plant is a light green color, and then they'll turn dark and woody when they stiffen out. So before that happens, you need to get in and do this. So as I said, I've now lost 2 flowers for the next season, but it doesn't matter. My plant is going to produce so many more flowers that I won't hardly notice it anyway. And these I am going to be using as cuttings in another area of my garden. Every single piece I take off, I'm going to put into my cozy cove area of my garden, and we'll go over and watch me plant them later to see which ones will flush out and carry on growing, because there I have fresh soil, and that should help encourage these to grow, and it's moist soil and it's in the shade. So we'll see what happens. If they make it through the winter and start flushing out next year, then I know I'll have a whole load of new plants to carry on with, and I need many more rhododendrons in my garden because they work so well and I love them. They're evergreen, and again, I get all the different colors that they burst out with during the early summer season. So let me get on with making myself some more cuttings by cutting back. I have a bucket down here next to me for now, so I'm just going to chuck all my cuttings in there, and I'm going to keep pushing back my plant as far as I need to go. So I keep checking underneath to see where I have auxiliary buds or just a couple of branches from where I have one still growing out, meaning that every single place that I take off here, I still have a couple more branches that will produce me more flowers. So it's not that bad. Down here at the bottom, the plant has pushed out a lot of growth forwards towards the light here. So I'm taking the forward growths off, and I'll leave one and see what happens. I can take the flower seed heads. Now, this is another thing you should see. These are the spent flowers, and then the flower seed heads will produce seeds, and this will require a lot of energy from the plant. So if you want to get better flowers next year, you can go in and prune all of these off if you have time for that, but otherwise it's not necessary because that doesn't happen in nature, and your plant will still flower anyway. It's just an aesthetic thing, or if you have time to invigorate your plant that way. I don't. But mind you, while I'm here right now, I might do some of that. So I have another one down here, and it has produced a big long piece like this and lots of old flower seeds and so forth. I don't want those on my cutting, so I might as well just take those off now and throw them in my leaf mold pathway here, out of the way. The rest I'll do later. I'm still checking out what's going on here as I go along. There's a new one growing out there. This one has, let's have a look. It's got two, so I'll take the one off. Keep that a bit more in check. This one has become too far forward and it's on the ground, and it's got auxiliary buds down there, so I'll prune that right back. This one right back there. Here I have a big, long, thick piece growing out, which I don't want, so we'll take that back. It's got auxiliary buds, looks like, so that's perfect. This one, way too far forward. This one too. So I'm leaving no flower buds down here at the bottom, but there are areas where new branches can grow out, but this is going to keep getting in the way of my pathway anyway, so I'm going to have to do this regularly and accept that I don't have flowers down here, which doesn't really matter because I'll have all the flowers coming out at the top where I won't be touching the plant because I actually want the plant to get much, much taller, but not much, much more further forward. So again, another reason why it really doesn't matter that I'm pruning back the forward-facing parts here. Some have just grown enormous in 1 year. I mean, this one's got to be around 35 centimeters long. And I've got so many young plants to experiment on now because of this. So this one, again, forward-facing, this one too. And then I have one that's facing upwards, which is perfect. Here, forward-facing, take that away. Take the next one away, and you can see I'm starting to get in. Oh, I need to get these ends in the water here. I'm starting to get further in now, you can see, which is really good. Here I can see there's a young shoot coming up there, so I can take all of this right back out of my way. A young one growing out here. It's not necessary this low down, and I have this lovely Vinca minor growing out here anyway. It looks beautiful. And these ones that are growing in there I'll leave. This one's a little bit too far forward. I'll take it all the way back. And this one is going to start growing forward, so I'll take that back as well, because I have around here a whole new piece growing out that will have a little bud on it, so that's not a problem. Here the plant's doing really well, new bits growing out, so I'm just taking off all of these old buds to tidy it up at the same time. And you can already see here my plant is back close to the edge of the border, and I have plenty of space for my pathway, so that's perfect. And everything else that's growing here with these lovely flowers on, I don't need to touch. I want this to get taller and taller, so that's just perfect. So I will really hardly notice that I've stopped the flowering down here at the bottom. It doesn't really matter. So now, I feel like this one's done for now. I have another one here at the back that's doing the same thing. It's grown very far forward. This one's got a lot of auxiliary buds down the bottom. So I'm going to go all the way back with this one and take a huge piece off here. And when I plant them out as cuttings, I'm going to leave them like that. Or maybe I'll halve this one. Make a whole jungle of these plants. So that one's there. And actually, I need to put these on the floor next to my bucket of water because these are two different colours. This one is actually called Rhododendron Hybrida Blue Peter. And then this one, if I have the name of it, I'll put the name on the screen, otherwise I've forgotten it, but it's a very different colour. That one is a light purpley colour, and I think this one is more of a pinky colour. So I'm going to put them in separate places when I plant them out as cuttings, so I can keep an eye on that. I'm going to get plenty of cuttings from that plant. And already, this is quite far away from the edge of the border now. And the other growth is so young and thin that I'm just going to leave that for now. The rest of it is growing up exactly how I want, so I don't need to touch that. And here I have a variegated plant that's really been struggling every year. And it's grown a little bit forward here, but I can't really do anything with that for now, and it's actually not in my way. So that was all I needed to do. It was just a little amount, just to keep everything in check. Actually, this one down here needs to be pushed back. There's two stems, so I can take that one, put that back in the bucket. Okay, when I stood back there, I could see that this rhododendron here in front of me, which is also another colour, another variety, is sticking out, but it's not in the pathway here. So I'm just going to leave this for now because I need to make sure I've got enough space for these cuttings I have. And then if I do have more space where I'm going to put them out as my experiment, I might come back and take some of this as well. It's a much more compact variety, and I would like to see all of these flowers on this next year. So I might let it go for now because it's growing up here and that is not in the way, so that will be able to carry on growing. It's just the two down here that are going to have to be pruned back at some point, but I might let it go a season and then prune it back. And then I'm looking at my other rhododendrons here, and none of those have really moved too far forward. They're actually growing upwards, and I will turn the camera so you can see those as well. So here you can see I have a lot more rhododendrons, and again, they've grown out enormously this year. This one is literally 40 centimeters longer, and all of these have actually grown out 30 to 40 centimeters. This one is actually 50 centimeters. So they've really done well this year because it's been kind of tropical warm weather, and it has poured down with rain for periods of time during the day and sometimes during the night. The last 2 nights it's poured down with rain, and during the day it's been very sunny. Like yesterday was very sunny all day, poured down with rain all night. Today it's been sunny, now it's cloudy. All of a sudden the sun will start coming out again. There are lots of dark grey clouds in the sky. It's going to probably pour down again tonight, and this is the perfect scenario for these rhododendrons. A nice moist ground around their roots is what they love. They don't like to be sitting in too much water, but a moist ground is good to push out this new growth, and a rich acidic soil. And I've been putting all of the spent autumn leaves underneath these plants every season, and that's really, really helped them out to become much healthier. They actually struggled for a few years where their leaves were very brown and blotchy, or getting these yellow patches and so forth. And now all of a sudden they're just looking absolutely amazing, all the way back to this corner over here and beyond, where I have a lot more rhododendrons, and they're all flushing out and have grown a lot this year and look very green and beautiful. So that is why I felt like this year is the year that I definitely need to go in and do some pruning if I want to keep them in control and away from pathways and so forth. Here in the middle, where you can see I have this lovely boulder behind, I actually wanted to keep this boulder exposed. And now they're starting to grow up in front here, so I have to make a decision. Am I going to prune back and keep them lower here while I can and get a load of cuttings, or am I going to let these grow out? I would like more coverage from the roadside, but at the same time I do love that boulder, so we'll see. I'm going to let them carry on growing out now, and then I'll see how I feel in the future, and if they get big and they look beautiful, and I want to keep them that way, well then I'm going to have to move the whole plants to a different area of my garden. And rhododendron, while they're young plants like this, are really, really easy to move, and they're very resilient because they don't get deep roots. They keep a nice, neat, matte root mat close to the surface of the soil, and they come up in a nice, easy ball, and you can move them and plant them. And as long as you put a nice, rich, mulchy soil around them with broken down leaf matter and twigs and wood and so forth to keep a nice acidic soil around them and moist, they will carry on as if nothing happened. I moved some plants last year and they have actually grown out just as much as all these this year and flowered out as if I hadn't touched them at all. So I know that works. I have plenty of time. I know I can wait. These aren't big, huge, monstrous plants that have been in the ground for years with huge roots all over the place. They take many, many years to establish in that kind of situation. So you have many years to decide if you want them in a spot or not. And if they start getting out of hand, just go and move them. So let's go and get planting all of my cuttings now so I can show you how I sort them out. So right, here I am in the area of my garden called Cozy Cove. And I have this border that I created a while ago that I filled in with a lot of compost that I went and bought. And I've been filling it up with twigs and autumn leaves and so forth. So it's got a mulch layer as well. This is a perfect border to go and plant my cuttings because it's soft, moist, in the shade and perfectly situated for these plants. I do have 2 rhododendrons in here that I bought on sale. I got them for only 50 Swedish krona, which is absolutely nothing. And they were yellowing out and dried out and completely, you know, in need of care. So I've left them here to recuperate, and they both flowered out magnificently for me. This one's just going over now, a kind of dark pink color, and the leaves are looking much greener. It hasn't pushed out any new growth yet, and the other one has pushed out actually some new growth. So they are establishing themselves here, and that's great. Now they're going to be surrounded by a load of cuttings. So I have my secateurs again here. Make sure that you have gloves on as well, because rhododendrons are poisonous plants. And I want to push these as deep down into the soil as I can. So you can see this long one I have here. I have all the leaves at the bottom here. I'm just going to peel all of these leaves off like this and expose that whole area, maybe some up here as well. All the leaves, throw in the border, and then I have the top part of this long stem. The bottom, as I do with all cuttings, I will just scare up like this, just to make sure that the stem can wick up as much moisture as possible while it's trying to push out new roots. So there where you can see auxiliary buds and so forth coming along on the stem, that is where the plant would have pushed out a whole new branch if I'd cut back just before that. So that is what's going to happen on my larger plants. And here in this case, this plant will start producing roots out of those areas. So this plant, take a couple more leaves off, just to help it so that it doesn't have to suck up too much moisture to keep it going. I will take those off, put those in the border. And the plant has the bud for next year, which we also don't want the plant worrying about. So I'm going to pinch that out. So I've pinched the bud out. So now all this cutting needs to think about is producing roots. And, well, where do I want to put it? I'm going to start putting it in my border. This is so soft and easy. So all I have to do, I actually just found a stick here. Get a stick and poke a hole deep, deep down so that you don't break the stem on your cutting as you push it down. And when you've found your hole, pull out your stick or whatever you're using, stick in your cutting as far down as it will go, and then fill it in. And I can see this was really moist here. So I'm hoping this is going to work out. And it's a lot of leaf mold here. Exactly what this plant will love. So I'm going to carry on doing this with all of my cuttings now. They're different sizes, but again, all the lower leaves, just rip them off. quick and easy. Reuse them in your border. And this has got 2 branches. I'm going to leave them on there anyway. I'm just going to pinch out the bud on the end. I don't want this plant worrying about trying to produce a new flower. It needs to produce new roots. And I'll take an extra layer of leaves off around the top as well. Just leave the top layer. There we go. And then I can plant that too. You know what? Now I can't remember what I just did. Did I just mix them up? I don't know if I just mixed them up. But anyway, if I did mix them up, then I'm going to get a mixture of colours, which I don't mind anyway. But I did want to keep the one type in this corner. I'm going to get these out of the way first so I don't mix them up anymore. All the ones on the ground I'm going to plant over here. So I only have one kind of cutting there. Where are my secateurs now? There. And also, actually, that one, I don't think I shredded the bottom either, did I? I need to go back and check. I have this big one here that has a lot of side branches going on. I'm going to leave this like that to experiment to see if it would actually be able to push out new roots itself with all that top growth helping it photosynthesize. I like to experiment in different ways to see how far I can push these plants. We'll see what happens. This is a thick stem, this one, so I can push it straight into the ground. I can feel that, and it hasn't broke or anything, so that's good. Press it down. Done. This one's a little bit too long, and I just shredded a little bit of it, so I'm going to cut it just above where I saw some buds, shred this one at the bottom, and then this one as well, shred that and just stick it in the ground. It might produce its own new branches anyway. This time, instead of going in and out one at a time, I've decided to tidy these up straight away because they've been sitting in water wicking up plenty of moisture, unlike the other ones that I took and didn't. Some of them I've ripped in two, and if I do that, well, it doesn't matter. Then I just go and score up that one and plant it as a separate cutting. Right, at last I am finished preparing my cuttings, and I just want to count how many I've put in, roughly. I've already put 11 in, and let's count now how many I have left here. 38 cuttings, which means 38 chances of getting at least some new plants. And look, all scorn up and ready to go and be planted in my border behind me as my rhododendron cuttings experiment border now. I love this. We'll see. Only time will tell. Next year, I'll know if my experiment was a success. And then, with time, I'll be able to dig up these plants and place them in different areas around my garden where it suits, if I feel that's what I want to do. But if I end up keep getting as many cuttings as this and they work out, well then I'll just get different varieties from different plants and put them in other places in my garden. I mean, these small plants will take many years to get big, so I can just enjoy them in here as long as need be. This is so much fun, I tell you. I just love doing things like this and then seeing what's going to happen. You could still be wondering why I'm doing this and just hoping for the best rather than putting them in pots and getting them going slowly and so forth like that? Well, the reason is I still don't have a greenhouse in my garden. Nearly 4,500 square meters of garden, and I still don't have a greenhouse for cuttings and things like that. So what I do is I test things in the raw nature. And if that works, well then I know I've got some beast of plants, because they have to get through the long, tough, dark, cold winter, and if they make it to the other side, well then I know these plants will survive anything. Because what could be harder than being a little cutting, fighting for your life through minus 15 degrees in the winter and making it to the other side? A few more to find homes for. So I've got everything planted. There's not really much for you to see in here. Everything looks a real mess. So I'm just going to actually just try and peel off some of those flower heads on these rescued rhododendrons here, so they don't try and produce too many seeds, to help them out a little bit less stress on these already stressed plants that are rehabilitating here, and they're doing really well. So this is nice, a nice way to help them recover. So that one's done, and the one over here is full of seeds because it produced lots of flowers for a little plant that was suffering. It did its absolute best and produced so many flowers, but get those off and help this little plant out. So that's what I'm doing. I'm just ripping them off, quick and easy. It's not that hard. Just make sure you don't pull off any side shoots that can produce new branches and so forth, and your bud for next year, if that's what you want. So this little plant looks much better already now as well. Lovely. So basically I'm not going to be doing anything special. This ground is very moist, it keeps raining, it's very shady here, so these plants will never be in direct sunshine. They get the smallest amount of dappled light, otherwise it's quite shady. And then during the winter months, yes, they get direct light on them, as that is east and south round that way. And then again, all summer long, they're shaded out when it's the warmest part of the year. So they'll get more light when it's the darkest months, which is also good for them. So these should all just take off very well, but we're going to have to come back in the future to check it out and see the new growth, which of course will be next year. And I'm very excited to see what happens then. So let's now go back and end my video looking at my other beautiful rhododendron plants. So here we are back with all of my other beautiful rhododendrons. I have so many different varieties, and all the plants I've bought here, I've bought when they've been on sale during the early autumn time. And I've managed to get many of these plants so extremely cheaply, from anything from 500, 600 kroners per plant, Swedish kroners, to 50 Swedish kroners per plant. So if you go and convert that to another currency, you will see exactly how cheaply I got these plants. And I've had these plants a good many years now. And it really is first now they've started flushing out and growing an enormous amount in one season. So I'd say it takes a good 3 years, 4 years for them to really establish and start pushing out like this, unless they are in that most fantastic conditions and soil, of course. But I'm proud of mine. But now I know I'm going to have my work cut out for me, because I'm going to have to come in and prune them to keep them within the borders. A few branches each year, because then I'll know I'll still get lots of flowers every year. So you don't want to go in and hack your plant completely back, or prune all of the tops of your plants with some hedge clippers or anything like that. No, because you will get no flowers. You will go in and carefully pick and decide a few branches each season and take those off, yes, you will lose a few flowers, but you won't notice it. It's going to be worth it. And well, I'm going to put some photos up now while I'm sitting here so that you can see the beautiful colours of all the different flowers and the varieties I've managed to capture this season while I've been at my cottage, because their flowering also can be quite fleeting. Within a couple of weeks then the flowers are gone, and then if I'm not here, or I'm only here during the beginning or the end of it, I don't get to see the whole flush out. Otherwise, these plants are pretty easy. So that was just a quick video to show you how you can prune back your rhododendrons, rejuvenate them, and make yourself a lot of cuttings. Now, if you have a greenhouse or so forth, you can get your smaller cuttings, halve the leaves, put a tiny stem piece in a pot, and they will grow out roots quicker and easier in a warmer, moist environment. Or you can go and use the wild method like I have, because I've tried it before on bigger pieces that have just broken off and I've stuck them in the ground and they've rooted, and I've even moved them to other parts of the garden. So I'm just going to try it with the younger green shoots, this year's shoots, which I haven't tried so far, and see if that's going to work. Anyway, have fun and enjoy your own rhododendrons, your own different varieties where you are. I'm hoping to be able to collect many more varieties, and I'm definitely going to be spreading this plant all over my garden because I really do love them. So all I have to say now is thank you very much once again for watching this video. Please remember to like, subscribe and hit the bell so you know when my next video will be coming up, and I will see you again very, very soon. Goodbye.